Welcome back, everyone. Happy Friday. I hope that you are having an amazing day so far today. We are on day 4 of our Wheel of Topics live stream series, and I'm really excited to be back with you today. So, thank you. Thank you for being here with me, whether you are joining me live or you're catching the replay on whatever your social media platform of choice is. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and welcome. If you don't know me, this is your first time seeing me pop across your feed. I am Trisetta Washington. I'm the CEO and founder of Profitable Productivity. We partner with leaders to help them build high performing teams and organizations without sacrificing your well being, without burning out in the process, right? And I decided to kind of do this 5-day live stream challenge where I spin the wheel of topics to randomly select the topic for me to share my expertise on as a way to get back in the habit of going live, because I took a little bit of a pause. Took off for like 6 months from doing live streams just because of life transition, right? Life transitions happen, and it was what I needed for me. I have to walk the walk, right? Like the things that I teach on around being productive without burning out and taking care of yourself, prioritizing self care. I have to walk that out. I can't just teach it. And so I try to lead by example. And so that's what I did. And so now I'm back here with you all to share. So there's 5 different categories of topics that I teach on, what I call my content pillars. One is building high performing teams. There's also emotional intelligence for leaders, leading through change and uncertainty, which we're dealing with a lot right now, sustainable leadership and preventing burnout, and finally, maximizing productivity and impact. So, those are my 5 kind of content pillars. And so, we're going to spin that wheel and see what we are talking about today. And by tuning in, you're going to gain some really valuable tips and strategies for whatever the topic is that gets selected. And I'm going to be sharing with you some actionable advice that you can start to implement right away to achieve your goals, right? And I try to do this where I give you 3 points based off of whatever the wheel selects. So let me go ahead and pull up the wheel of names and see what we're going to be talking about today. All right, we're down to just 4 topics left on the wheel. Tomorrow we'll do one last day tomorrow, and we'll see what that's going to bring. All right, let's spin the wheel. Round and round it goes. Oh yes, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that to talk about this, because this is one of my favorite topics to teach on. So let me get rid of that. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so goal setting is definitely one of my favorite topics to speak on. So we're going to be talking about setting clear goals and expectations for team success. In fact, this is so near and dear to my heart that I created a workbook for leaders called the Visionary Action Plan Guide. And it walks you through the process of setting goals, identifying your why, and setting some clear goals, and creating an action plan that you can track your progress and your success. So it's available on Amazon. I wish that maybe before we close out, I can grab out of my drawer over here a copy of it so that I can share that with you. But it's called the Visionary Action Plan Guide. All right, or workbook. I don't remember. Anyway, so let's go ahead and dive into our topic that the wheel selected, setting clear goals and expectations for team success. And the first thing that I would say is to um, involve your team, right? Involve your team. When you're going through the process of setting goals for your team or your organization, depending upon what type of leadership role you're in, I definitely want to encourage you to bring the team into the process. That's going to help to increase buy-in and ownership over the results and the carrying out of the tasks that are assigned, right? Because when you just make the decision yourself, when you set the goals and you don't bring your team into the process, and depending upon the size of your team, you may have to kind of minimize the number of people who are intricately involved, but you could always use some sort of survey tool to be able to gain feedback and information from your team. If you have a really large team, there's all kinds of ways that you can gather this information and give them an opportunity to have their voice be heard. And like I said, when you involve them in the process, that's going to help you to have greater buy-in for the things that you're trying to implement, for those initiatives that you're implementing. Because, people tend to be a little resistant to change, right? They tend to be a little resistant to change. And as a result, that can make when you're setting goals and oftentimes that means that we're making some adjustments to the way that we do things, and people are kind of get a little gripey and you're like, oh, why are we doing this? But if they have a role in the setting of the goals as well as those key performance indicators and those specific actions that need to take place in order to achieve that goal, they're going to be so much more likely to follow through and be invested, right? They're going to take ownership over the role that they play in the achieving of the goal. So definitely want to make sure that you involve your team in the process, however you can. The second thing that I would say is probably something you've heard before, but you want to make sure that the goals that you set are SMART goals, right? SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. You want to make sure that all five of those elements are can be found in the goals that you set. Otherwise, it may just be a wish, right? We need to make sure that you have that timeline. When are we going to get this accomplished by? Is this goal actually relevant to the direction that we're going as a team or as an organization? How does this goal tie back into the overarching vision and mission of your organization? I tapped my microphone. I was afraid that I turned it off, right? Make sure that it's relevant. It's got to be tied back to where you're trying to go. Also, yes, we want to stretch. We want to have stretch goals. We want to push beyond what we feel like we may be able to accomplish, but we don't want to set the bar so high that it's outside of the realm of possibility. So stretch, yes, but we don't want to go so high that you set yourself up for failure. So make sure that that goal is actually achievable. You also want to have some way to measure success. Did we hit our goal or did we not? How close did we come to our goal? So I like to use revenue goals when I talk about measurement because it's numbers. It's a lot easier for people to kind of grasp the concept. So if you have a revenue goal for your organization of, let's say, 3.5 million, what percent do you hit? If you don't if you just say increase revenue or increase donations, increase charitable donations coming into the organization, you could increase by $100 and, well, that was an increase, right? And I'm sure that's not what you really mean. So you want to set a very clear, measurable goal or measuring stick to the goal that you set. so that you can really identify how far you've come. Did we hit it? Did we not? Are we close? I feel like if you get within 80% of your goal, that's a success. That's a success. And so you want to have that in there. And then, of course, you want to be specific, right? Going back to what I said, and like, oh, we want to increase revenue. Well, what does that look like? That's very generic. That's very general, very broad. We want to make sure that we're being very specific in what we're saying in our goals so that we can really identify it. All ties in together. That specificity, those measuring tools, the relevancy, and having that deadline for when things are going to get done, and making sure that it's within the realm of possibility. Stretch, yes, but still within the realm of possibility, right? And then the final, um, well, before I move on, I just want to say having all five of these elements built into the goals that you set are really going to provide the clarity that you and your team need in order to stay focused and in order to stay motivated. When you don't have that clarity and you don't keep your goals at the forefront or at the center of the work that you're doing, it's very easy to get off track and get distracted by other things that don't really tie back into your overarching goals and your overarching vision and mission. So, and I think the other day I kind of talked about a little bit about vision or mission drift that takes place, right? So your goals serve as um, your targeted ending, right? Like the destination that you're trying to go. And it helps you to kind of put those blinders on so that you're aiming for this one thing rather than if you don't have goals, or if your goals are too broad and they're not specific enough, your field of vision is wider and you can end up going in too many different directions. Also, one thing that I want to say, one more thing I want to say about goals before I move into or SMART goals before I move into the third one is minimize the number of goals that you have. You don't want to have a plethora of goals. It really is going to depend on the size of your organization. If you have a larger organization, then you can kind of spread those out a little bit more and go 5 to 7. But if you're a smaller organization, I really encourage you to stay at no more than 3. Like I said, depending upon the size of the team that you have to carry out, maybe one team is really only involved in 1 or 2, and then other teams are involved in another. You can spread that out and have like 5 to 7, but I definitely wouldn't go. 3 to 7 would be the max. Again, depending upon the size of your organization. All right, so that's enough about that. I don't want to belabor that. And then the final thing that I would recommend is that you provide regular feedback, that you monitor your progress on a regular basis. You need to provide that ongoing feedback on the progress that is being made towards the goals, both kind of on an individual basis as well as a team. This is going to help you to maintain accountability. It's going to encourage that continuous improvement because as you're going along, you're going to find out some things are going to get in the way. You know, you may have some hiccups in the plan and you've got to make some adjustments, and you may realize that, oh, we kind of overestimated what we could achieve in this particular period of time based on now new information is kind of coming in, or you underestimate it and you want to expand your goal a little bit more, right? So it's going to help you to have having that feedback loop is going to help you to be able to constantly assess where you are and make adjustments so that you can remain on target. And I would say build into your action plan those feedback or those check-in points, right? Whether that is on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. I could say quarterly. I think that quarterly is too far out, because you can create a great deal of momentum in a quarter or in a 12 to 13 week period. So if you're looking at things on at minimum a monthly basis, I encourage a weekly, depending upon what the specific goal is. But at minimum on a monthly basis, you can start to make those adjustments and make those tweaks so that you can remain on target. The farther out you get for those review sessions, those progress updates, the harder it's going to be for you to identify if you're, when you're off track. You're getting so far down the line that now the course correction is going to be a little bit more challenging. Doesn't mean that you can't do it, that you can't course correct at the quarterly point. It just simply means it's going to be a little bit more of it's going to be a heavier lift, right? So make sure that you have in your action plan times already established for when you're going to follow up and when you're going to kind of do those progress check-ins. I also would encourage you to, as you're establishing your goals, determine what those key performance indicators are, those KPIs, right? Or those lead and lag indicators are, so that you can be tracking it on a daily or weekly basis, or even monthly, depending upon what it is, and not having to go back to look. It's so much easier if you identify what you're tracking on the front end. That's going to help you to be able to determine the progress that you're making and where things may be breaking down, if there are breakdowns, so that you can make the necessary adjustments, right? Okay, so you want to make sure you involve your team. Ensure that the goals that you set are SMART goals, and they're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And finally, create that feedback loop. Make sure that you have regular check-ins, progress check-ins, to ensure that you're getting feedback on the progress you're making on your goals, so that you can make adjustments as necessary, so that you make sure you hit those goals. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thank you again for tuning in. I definitely want to encourage you to, if you have been listening to this and are been in on any of these live streams over the last few days, and you're like, Prasadda, I want to know more. How can I learn more about building a high performing team, or making my organization a little bit more high performance? Book a call with me. And let me put this up on the screen. You can either slide into my DMs and just say, hey, Trisetta, how can I book a call? Or you can go to my, this link, chatwithtrisetta.com, and find a time on my calendar that works for you. I definitely will say, if you do decide to go directly to my calendar, and if you don't see a time that works for your schedule, do reach out to me via DM, because I've got a heavy travel schedule over the next few weeks. Plus, my daughter's getting married next week, so my schedule's quite tight. But I will make room for you, right? If you want to have a conversation, I will make room for you. So go ahead, feel free to hop on my calendar for a complimentary 30-minute consultation. I'll be happy to do that. Oh, before I go, let me see if I can grab this without tearing everything down. Hold on. All right. Awesome. Okay. All right. So I was mentioning that I have the Visionary Action Plan Workbook. It's a guide to strategize, execute, and achieve your goals. This is specifically designed for leaders, and it's available on Amazon. So you can grab your copy there. And it is full of, I literally walk you through the process of identifying what your vision is, drilling down into your why, setting those milestones, and then establishing your goals and those key performance indicators, those what I call activity-based goals. You can use this on a personal level. for your own personal goals as a leader, or you can use this for team or organizational goals. It's really a flexible plan. So anyway, it's available on Amazon if you so desire. All right, that's it. I will see you all tomorrow for our final day of Spin the Wheel of Topics. Have an amazing day.